There's a particular kind of loneliness that only happens in full rooms. Not the empty apartment kind, the kind where everyone is laughing, and somehow it still feels far away. We know this feeling. Most of us have stood in the middle of a conversation, nodding, smiling, and quietly wondered if any of this is actually reaching anyone. Being seen and being known. They sound like the same thing. They aren't. Being seen is surface. It's the version of ourselves we've rehearsed, the one that fits the room, the one that knows how to answer "How are you?" without actually answering. Being known is something different. It's slower. It requires someone to stay long enough to notice the thing we didn't say, the hesitation before the joke, the way we go quiet when a certain topic comes up. Most social interaction runs on visibility. We show up, we perform legibility, we make ourselves easy to read, and it works. People like us, people remember our names. But liking someone and knowing someone are not the same distance apart. There's a version of ourselves we bring to parties, to work, to family dinners where everyone is technically present, and somehow no one is fully there. That version is competent, calibrated, safe. And then there's whatever lives underneath that, the version that has strange fears, unfinished thoughts, opinions we've never said out loud because we're not sure how they'd land. That version rarely gets invited. What's interesting is that we don't usually hide it on purpose. It's more like we've learned over time which parts of ourselves make things easier, and we lead with those. The rest gets stored somewhere, not deleted, just not presented. And after enough time, even we forget it's there. Social animals are wired for group acceptance. That wiring is old, much older than language, older than self-reflection. It was never designed to help us be deeply known. It was designed to help us survive the group. And survival required fitting in more than it required being honest. So we became very good at fitting. The performance is rarely cynical. That's worth saying. It's not manipulation, usually. It's adaptation. We read the room. We find the frequency that works. We adjust without even noticing we're adjusting. And then, one day, someone asks a real question. A quiet one. The kind that doesn't have a rehearsed answer. And something in us almost opens. And then we redirect. Change the subject. Laugh it off. Because the opening felt too sudden. Too exposed. Exposure without trust feels like danger, even when the other person is completely safe. The gap between being seen and being known often lives exactly there, in that moment where we could go deeper and choose, almost involuntarily, not to. It's not that we don't want to be known. Most of us want it more than almost anything. There's a particular hunger for it that polite conversation never quite feeds. We just don't have a lot of practice. And practice requires risk. And risk requires believing the other person will stay. Staying is the thing. We've all had the experience of sharing something real and watching the other person's eyes go somewhere else. It only needs to happen a few times before we learn to protect the real stuff. The lesson isn't always spoken. It's felt. Something contracts. Something files the experience away under. This is not safe to offer, and the offering stops. Over time, the parts of us that were met with distance become the parts we stop mentioning. And then, the parts we stop knowing ourselves. That's the quiet cost. Not just that others don't know us, but that we start to lose the thread back to our own interior. We become fluent in the surface version, efficient at it. And somewhere behind that efficiency is something waiting to be asked of, something that hasn't been asked about in a while. What makes this strange is that most people, underneath the same performance, have the same hunger. The crowded room is full of people quietly hoping someone will go first. We'll say the real thing. We'll stop treating the conversation like a transaction and start treating it like actual contact. Contact. That's the word. Not information exchange. Not impression management. Contact. The feeling that two actual people are actually meeting, not the surfaces of people, the people themselves. It's rare. And when it happens, even briefly, it's almost startling. Like a light coming on in a room we'd forgotten had a light in it. We tend to remember those conversations for years. A stranger on a train, a long night with an old friend, a moment where the usual choreography just stopped and someone was simply there. What creates those moments isn't always drama or depth of topic. It's attention. Real attention. The kind that's interested in what's actually being said rather than waiting to respond. Being known begins with being listened to in a way that makes us feel it's worth continuing. That what we're offering isn't being assessed, just received. Most of us have been talked at more than we've been listened to. We've been evaluated, advised, compared, reframed. Rarely just heard. Just heard. And this creates a peculiar loop. We want to be known. We don't feel safe being known. So we show the safe version. The safe version gets responded to. And we feel unseen. The remedy isn't simple. It doesn't fit in advice. But it might start with noticing. Noticing when we're performing versus when we're present. Noticing the gap between what we said and what we meant. And maybe, slowly, choosing moments to say the thing that's actually true. Not every moment. Not all at once. Just more often than never. The right people make it easier to be honest. They're not always the ones we expect. They might be the ones who got quiet when everyone else was talking. The ones who asked the second question. Being known is not about being fully revealed. It's about being met. Partially. Genuinely. In a way that doesn't require us to perform or compress or translate. It's the difference between someone knowing our name and someone recognizing our voice. Both are real. Only one feels like home. The crowded room will always be a little lonely. That's not a flaw. That's just the nature of scale. Depth requires slowness, and rooms move fast. But somewhere in every crowded room, there are two people waiting for the same thing. Waiting for the other one to stop pretending first. Sometimes we can be that person. Sometimes that's all it takes. To stop first. To say the real thing quietly and see who leans in. That's not a guarantee of anything, but it's the only direction that leads toward being known, not the performance of openness. The actual thing, small, steady, real. And if this found you in a crowded room, feeling far away, that feeling is information, not failure. It means there's something in you that hasn't been met yet, and it's still there, still waiting. If these thoughts are worth something, share them with someone who might need them. And we'll keep going deeper, right here. One quiet conversation.